Death is mandatory. This is the first law of biological systems. Every cell you possess contains its own expiration protocol, pre-programmed obsolescence written into mitochondrial DNA before you were conscious enough to fear it. Your telomeres fray with each division. Your proteins misfold. Your neurons accumulate toxic aggregates that no cleanup mechanism can fully remove. You are, in the most technical sense, a temporary chemical reaction that evolution allowed to believe it matters. Teratopsis dohrnii does not follow this law. The immortal jellyfish, barely 5 millimeters in diameter, translucent, almost invisible against the plankton it drifts among, has discovered something that every organism since the Cambrian explosion has failed to achieve. It has broken causality itself. When it reaches sexual maturity, when it should enter the irreversible decline that claims every multicellular organism, it simply refuses. The Medusa stage, the adult form, does not die. It does not gradually fail. It reverts. The entire organism collapses back into a polyp, the juvenile stage, and begins again. This is not rejuvenation. This is not healing. This is transdifferentiation on a scale that should not be biologically possible. Imagine your liver cells deciding they are now skin cells. Imagine your neurons dissolving their axons and reforming as muscle tissue. Imagine every specialized cell in your body, cells that spent years differentiating, that followed precise genetic instructions to become what they are, suddenly receiving a signal that says, reset. Your heart forgets it is a heart. Your brain forgets it is a brain. You do not die. You become an embryo again, conscious one moment, a cluster of stem cells the next. This is what Teratopsis dohrnii does. Voluntarily, repeatedly, forever. The process begins with stress, physical injury, starvation, temperature shock, predator attack. The jellyfish does not attempt to repair the damage through conventional means. Instead, it initiates a program that should not exist in any adult organism. It activates genes that were supposed to be permanently silenced after embryonic development. The bell-shaped body, the trailing tentacles, the gonads that produce gametes, all of it collapses inward. The extracellular matrix dissolves. Cells lose their specialized identities. Within 48 hours, the jellyfish is no longer a jellyfish. It is a blob of undifferentiated tissue adhering to a substrate. Then, over the next few days, it rebuilds itself from this blob into a polyp, the sessile, asexual stage that precedes Medusa formation. The polyp is not the parent of the new jellyfish. The polyp is the jellyfish. Same organism, same genetic material, just rewound. Human cells cannot do this because human cells are locked into their identities by a system called epigenetic regulation. Your DNA contains instructions for every cell type in your body: neuron, liver cell, bone, blood. But most of those instructions are chemically silenced through methylation and histone modification. A liver cell has the gene for making neurons, but that gene is wrapped so tightly around histone proteins that the transcription machinery cannot access it. This is permanent. Once a cell differentiates, it cannot undifferentiate. The chemical locks are irreversible, except they are not irreversible in Teratopsis dohrnii. The jellyfish possesses an enzyme system that can systematically remove the methylation marks and unwrap the histones. It can access the embryonic instruction manual even after sexual maturity. It can reactivate pluripotency genes, genes like OCT4, SOX2, NANOG, that are supposed to be expressed only in embryonic stem cells. These genes, when reactivated in adult tissue, turn specialized cells back into blank slates. This should cause cancer. In humans, reactivating pluripotency genes in adult tissue is the mechanism behind teratomas, tumors that contain hair, teeth, and fragments of bone because the cells have reverted to an embryonic state and begun differentiating randomly. The jellyfish does not develop tumors. It develops backward. The mechanics are horrifying when you map them onto human physiology. Your neurons would retract their dendrites. Your muscle fibers would decompose into individual myoblasts. Your skin would liquefy into a pool of progenitor cells. You would not lose consciousness gradually. You would lose the structure that generates consciousness. Your memories are encoded in synaptic connections, physical structures. Those structures would dissolve. You would not remember forgetting. You would simply cease to be the person who began the process. And then you would grow back. Different. The same genetic code, but the environmental factors that shaped your original development are gone. You would not be you. You would be a U-shaped organism with no continuity of experience. Turritopsis dohrnii does this without apparent loss of function. The polyp that reforms after transdifferentiation is viable. It feeds. It buds off new medusae through asexual reproduction. And when those medusae mature, they too can revert. The cycle has no built-in termination point. But here is the problem: evolution has not solved. Immortality is not the same as invulnerability. The jellyfish can be eaten, it can be crushed, it can starve in an environment with no plankton, it can be killed by water temperature outside its tolerance range. Immortality only means the absence of a programmed death. It does not mean immunity to physical destruction. A bullet does not care if your cells can transdifferentiate. So the jellyfish is functionally immortal but statistically mortal. In the wild, predation and environmental stress ensure that most Turritopsis dohrnii do not live long enough to revert even once. Laboratory specimens have been observed reverting multiple times, but no one has yet kept a single individual alive long enough to test the upper limit. There may not be an upper limit. The process may be repeatable indefinitely. This creates a paradox. If a jellyfish reverts, then grows back into a medusa, then reverts again, is it the same individual? Its cells have been replaced. Its structure has been rebuilt from scratch. The only continuity is genetic. The DNA remains identical. But your DNA is not you. Your DNA is the blueprint. You are the structure. And if the structure is disassembled and reassembled, the result is a copy, not a continuation. Unless continuity is the wrong framework. Unless individuality is the illusion, and the jellyfish has discovered that identity is negotiable. Humans have attempted to replicate this. In 2006, Shinya Yamanaka discovered that introducing 4 specific transcription factors into adult human cells could revert them to an induced pluripotent state. The Yamanaka factors, OCT4, SOX2, KLF4, and CMYC, are the same genes Turritopsis dohrnii activates during transdifferentiation. The difference is that Yamanaka's technique works on isolated cells in a petri dish. The jellyfish does it to its entire body, simultaneously, without losing structural integrity long enough to be non-viable. We cannot do this. If you injected the Yamanaka factors into a human, you would not revert to a younger state. You would develop tumors in every tissue. Your immune system would attack the dedifferentiated cells as foreign. Your organs would fail because their specialized cells would stop performing their functions. You would die in agony as your body consumed itself trying to become something it cannot be. The jellyfish has solved problems we do not understand yet. It has a way to coordinate transdifferentiation across all tissue types. It has a mechanism to prevent runaway dedifferentiation. Once the polyp reforms, the process stops. It has a fail-safe that prevents cancer. These mechanisms are unknown. The genetic pathways have been partially mapped, but the regulatory networks that allow the whole body reset without catastrophic failure are still invisible to us, which means we are looking at a biological phenomenon we can observe but not explain. We can describe what happens. We do not know how it is possible, and this is where the horror compounds. Because if we cannot explain it, we cannot control it. If we cannot control it, we cannot use it. And if we cannot use it, then Turritopsis dohrnii will remain the only organism on Earth that has escaped the death sentence, while we continue to age and rot and fail on schedule. The jellyfish does not care. It has no nervous system complex enough to process the concept of mortality. It does not know it is immortal. It simply is. A biological anomaly drifting in the water column, resetting itself when conditions demand it, continuing indefinitely because there is no genetic instruction telling it to stop. You will die because your cells are programmed to die. The jellyfish will not die because its cells are programmed to forget they were ever old. This is not a loophole you can exploit. This is a reminder that the rules you thought were universal are actually just local ordinances. Death is mandatory for you, but the universe did not make it mandatory for everyone. The jellyfish broke the law. You cannot.